Hi, it's Meagan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 moving tips for staying organized and having a super smooth move, especially if you are doing the move on your own. My family and I just recently moved a couple states away, and we did our complete move all by ourselves, along with the help of some family and friends for the actual loading and unloading of our moving truck. But all of the packing, organizing, and all of that kind of stuff was done just by us, mostly by me. Our move was super successful, and I had a lot of people tell me that this was like the most organized and easy move that they'd ever helped with. So I just thought I would share kind of my top 10 tips. So my first tip is to buy some of these packing stickers. So I just got these from Amazon. They came in a pack all together with labels for different rooms, along with colors for different rooms, in addition to some that are just labeled fragile, and also some that are just blank. And what I did with these is I would take one off of the roll, and I would put it on the corner of the box so that you could see it from two sides. I didn't know how many stickers I would need or how many I would end up using. So I only started out by just labeling the two sides of the box. So when I would put this on, it would kind of fold over like this around to the corner. So that way when you picked up the box, there would at least be two sides that you could see the color of the label. And this was super helpful because when we were loading and unloading, we knew where these boxes needed to go. When I was using these to pack, I tried to think of my new house. If you are able to know where you are moving and kind of know what your new house layout is going to be like, it's easy to pack and label for the room that it's going to, not necessarily the room that it's coming from. So in our old house, in our dining room, we had some shelves where we had all of our homeschooling stuff. But I knew in my new house, I had a specific closet that I was going to be using in a landing area that I was going to be using for our homeschool stuff. So when I was labeling the homeschool stuff, I used one of the stickers. They didn't have obviously a label called homeschool room. So I used bedroom 4 or whatever, because we didn't have 4 bedrooms in our old house or our new house. And so I used the bedroom 4 sticker to put on all the boxes that had all of our school stuff. And then when we got to the new house, I knew that those bedroom 4 boxes were meant for that specific closet. So my next tip is to make sure you use good moving boxes. It made a huge difference with loading our truck using good high quality boxes. We used mostly boxes from U-Haul and Home Depot, and of those good boxes, all of them came from other people. We didn't buy a single box to move any of our stuff. We were able to get a lot of boxes from my parents who had recently moved, my brother who had recently moved, and then I also just saw on Facebook, there's always somebody giving away moving boxes. And so I found someone on Facebook who was moving into a house and wanted to get rid of their moving boxes. And so I went, I think 2 or 3 times to their house over a couple of weeks and just picked up all of their boxes from them. And then I turned around and used those in our own move. And now that we are here and settled and have unpacked, I'm now taking those boxes again, breaking them down, and then giving them to a couple of people who are moving out of my new area. So that's a great way to get free and inexpensive boxes, but definitely use as many of those higher quality boxes as you can. They stack so much easier. They hold up so much easier. Things aren't falling out the bottom. And they can hold the weight of each other when you're stacking them up in a storage unit or a pod or a moving truck or however you're moving. Those higher quality boxes definitely make a huge difference. And like I said, you definitely don't have to pay for them. There's always somebody who's giving away those kinds of boxes. Okay, my third tip is to make sure that you have some box cutters. Even just these little tiny pocket-sized box cutters are fantastic. I just got a pack of 5 of these from Temu and just had them shipped to my new house. But even if you get them before you move is also super helpful, because I can't count the number of times we had to get into a box that we had packed to get something out that we needed. We had to do that a handful of times, and just having a box cutter is super easy. I really like these ones because they're really small. You can see they fit easily in the palm of my hand. And so my husband and I, especially for the first few days when we were unpacking, just always had one of these in our pockets, so we could always open up boxes super easily And then we just have a couple in like random places throughout the house now that we're mostly unpacked, but there's still a few other random boxes and other things we are unpacking. These have come in super, super handy and were not very expensive. My next tip is to have an important things box or some kind of dedicated location to put important things. This isn't necessarily, I didn't necessarily use this for like my important files, like my bank information, passports, birth certificates, like those kinds of things. Those you can also keep in a special important place that you should carry with you, like in your car or on your person as you're moving. Don't put those like in your moving truck or pod. But this kind of box is just for all of the random important things that you know you're going to need first, or you know you don't want to lose when you get to your new place. So I just had like this sized tote that had important things in it that we needed and wanted. So in there is where I kept all of the hardware for anything that we had to reassemble once we moved. So like all of the hardware for our bed frame, all of the hardware for our girls' bunk beds, pieces for our baby gates, like any of those kind of little things. If you're disassembling things and reassembling them after you move, definitely put all those pieces in Ziploc bags and put them in your important box. I also kept all of my labels in there. So that way when we moved, I could make like a moving map, which I'll talk about in a second, and any other kind of important things that I knew we would want. So also in this container is where I kept my packing kit. So my next tip is to have a packing kit on each level of your home if you have a multi-level home, or in a couple of centralized locations. And basically what it is it's just a box or a container that has all of the things you will need for packing. And they're also super helpful when you're unpacking as well. So on each floor I had packing tape, I had Sharpies, I had my room labels, specifically the room labels that went with that level. So like my upstairs of my old house, I had the labels for my girls' bedroom, our office, master bathroom, girls' bathroom, our laundry room. Those were all kind of on our upper floor. So I made sure all of those labels stayed upstairs because I obviously wouldn't need those downstairs. And then in my downstairs area, I had like my kitchen, dining room, family room, storage, those kinds of things that were on that level. So in addition to those things, I also found it helpful to have packing paper, also just like a little screwdriver in case there were things I needed to take apart or take down like off of the walls. I also found it helpful to have some Ziploc bags of different sizes. And again, in case I had parts or pieces that I wanted to keep together, I just kind of kept all of those things together in a box, along with a pair of scissors on each floor and a box cutter on each floor as well. And that just was nice to have all of those things in one area. I kept it in one spot so that I knew if I ever needed anything, I could go to that box, pick out the things I needed. I could take those things to the area I was working in. And then as soon as I was done packing that area or done for the day, I would put those things back in my packing kit. So I always knew where they were. Anyone who was helping me pack knew exactly where the things were. And we weren't having to run up and down stairs to get the different things that we needed in order to actually pack our boxes and get them ready to move. Okay, tip number 6 is to start packing as early as you can and make sure that you are decluttering as you go. We knew that we would be moving about 6 to 8 weeks before we actually moved. About 8 weeks before we had the idea that we would be moving, about 7 weeks before we kind of we're pretty sure that we'd be moving, and then around 6 weeks we knew that we would be officially moving in 6 weeks. So during that time, I really made sure that I was decluttering as much as I could. I started packing away the things that I knew we wouldn't be needing. So anything that was already in storage, I kind of went through, decluttered it, started packing it in boxes. Books are easy to pack early, and we have a lot of books, as you can see by some of them behind me. So books were easy to pack early, but I just kind of started packing as soon as I could, and then we just started storing those boxes in our garage. It did mean that one of our cars had to be parked on our driveway for a few weeks, but that was worth it to me to be able to start packing the whole house and getting things just kind of out, so that it was easier to continue to pack and declutter as we were going. Okay, tip number 7 is to, as you're decluttering, to take things that are, of higher value or of some worth and to sell them on Facebook Marketplace. And as you get closer to your move, you can also do a yard sale. This time, we didn't really have time in our schedules to have a yard sale. We have done yard sales in the past, But I found that this time, by taking that full 6 weeks to actually sell things, I made significantly more money selling things on Facebook Marketplace in those 6 weeks than I would have if I had sold all of those things at a yard sale on one day for a few hours. It was definitely worth it to me to put the time into selling those things on Facebook. And again, the earlier you start, the more likely it will be that you will get your full offers, or that you will not have to significantly lower your price just to get rid of things. So we were able to sell like an old rocking chair, some toys of the girls. I didn't really worry about selling clothes just because those don't move very quickly when I've tried selling things before. But in the area that I lived, furniture, kids' toys were kind of like the main things that I sold and was able to sell pretty quickly. I rarely had things up for more than a few days before somebody would actually purchase those things. Okay, tip number 8 is to have freezer meals, or just kind of like no-brainer meals that you can just quickly make and eat in the midst of the chaos of packing. It wasn't always that we were too busy necessarily to like have a home-cooked meal, but lots of times it just felt too chaotic to then make another mess while I already felt like I had so many messes and like half-finished projects going. So we did have a lot of freezer meals. Luckily, I had a pretty well-stocked freezer, as you guys saw from some of my previous videos earlier this spring. When I was trying to eat through my freezer was because we were moving. And so I wanted to make sure I was getting as much of that food out of there and not purchasing as much food, because I didn't want to be bringing in more things that we needed to pack or go through when we already had plenty of things on hand. So having those freezer meals and just kind of those things ready to go and having a plan for some of those super easy kind of no-brainer meals made my life so much easier. I think during the whole moving process, that whole like 6 to 8 weeks, I think we only ate out maybe 5 times. And those all happened within I think most of those happened within the last 2 weeks. And most of those happened on the day before and the day that we were actually packing and moving our U-Haul, when we really didn't have anything in our kitchen. So we were totally able to do it and didn't have to eat out all the time, which was nice on our wallets, and also just helped us feel better too with having real home cooked meals and not just eating out all the time. Okay, tip number 9 is to have a central location where you're putting all of your packed things. So like I said, we just pulled one of our cars out of the garage and just used one half of our garage to stack all of our boxes. So throughout the day, I would pack, a handful of boxes, and then that evening, when my husband came home or when my girls were napping, I would take those boxes from the various places in the house and I would actually just go put them in the garage, start making our stacks. And that was super, super helpful when we then went to actually load our U-Haul, because we were able to back the U-Haul up right to the garage and just load all of the boxes straight on. The furniture we did keep inside the house, most of the furniture we did, and kind of moved that at the end, and we loaded all of our boxes first, but it made it so fast. We were able to load, we got a 26-foot U-Haul. When we moved, we were moving from a 1,500 square foot space to a 2,000 square foot space, and we were able to load the whole car, load all of the boxes in 20 minutes, and it only took about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, to actually get all the furniture and everything else completely loaded into the U-Haul. And so it made things super fast. It wasn't like an all-day affair, because we were able to have all of those boxes just in one location, which again made it super easy to just load it right onto the truck. Tip number 10 is to clean as you pack. So especially in storage closets or areas where we weren't living all the time, or places that I knew wouldn't get as dirty. As we packed those things, I then cleaned those rooms, cleaned the walls, cleaned the baseboards, cleaned the fans, cleaned the light switches and doorknobs and those kinds of things. I did that as I packed up a room and as I packed up a space. And that just made it so that when we were actually moving the day that we loaded up our U-Haul, there wasn't that much I needed to actually deep clean, because I had deep cleaned most of it already. There's just a few touch-ups I needed to do and some final cleaning. And that was nice because we were already tired at that point. And so it was nice not to have to then spend an entire day cleaning the entire house. If you are doing that yourself. I know a lot of people also just hire cleaners to come clean after everything has been moved out. And if that's in your budget, that is great. We didn't want to spend our money that way, and so we just decided to clean it ourselves as we were moving out. And then my last tip is a little bonus tip for you, and that is when you are moving to your new place, if you are having friends and family help you to unload your truck, I would highly suggest making some kind of map or code if you are using these kind of moving stickers. So what I did is, again, we moved into a 2-story place, and so I had a piece of paper that had a list of the labels of things that needed to stay on the main level. Our main level is pretty open concept, and so it's not too difficult to figure out, you know, where the kitchen is versus the dining room versus the family room. Those were all pretty easy to find. And so I had all those labels on like a section of the paper that said main floor, and then I listed all the labels. And on a second paper, I had upstairs, and I listed all of the stickers of the boxes that needed to go to the upstairs of our new place. And then at the top of the stairs, I again had a list of the labels with what that label actually meant. So like bedroom 2 actually meant like the girls' room. Study meant the office. Storage meant a specific closet. Bedroom 4 was for our homeschool closet that was in a different area. And so I made sure that I listed all the stickers with what those were. And then I just did a very like super basic map of what our upstairs looked like. So you could see like, you know, the office was next to a certain room. The girls' room was next to a certain place. The closets were next to this bedroom and those kinds of things. So that way when the person came up the stairs, they could look at know which label they had, and they could know kind of which direction they needed to go to put that box in the room, or at least in the area that it needed to go. And that made it super easy, especially for us when we were then unpacking after people had helped us unload the truck, because then we didn't have to go looking for boxes in various places in the house. All of the boxes were generally in the right room, or at least the right area or level that they needed to be in. So those are my 10 plus a little bonus tips for making your own DIY move successful and easy. And if you have any other moving tips, make sure you leave a comment below so that we can learn from each other, any other good ideas that you guys might have. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.